Okay, I would like to call the meeting to order. It is Thursday, February 2nd. This meeting is being video recorded by WCTV, audio recorded by Jamie Wixton. Could we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to begin tonight with a moment of silence for a longtime Wareham educator, Mr. Ray Antell. Mr. Antell worked in the Wareham schools for 34 years, started out as an English teacher, became English department chair, and then was a guidance counselor for the majority of his career at Wareham before retiring back in 1990. So could we please have a moment of silence? Thank you. First up on the agenda tonight is public participation. Prior to that, I would just like to make a brief statement regarding the Unit C contract negotiations. First and foremost, I'd like to say that every member of the school committee understands the important role of paraprofessionals play in the running of our schools. And every member on this committee is pro-education. Many of us have visited all of the schools to observe the paraprofessionals in action, working with involved students, running between classrooms, leading small groups, and helping to ensure a safe and orderly environment. As I've explained before, negotiations have occurred between the union and our negotiation team composed of 2 school committee members, the superintendent, and our legal counsel. During negotiations, both sides agreed to participate in mediation. The mediator establishes dates for negotiation sessions. At 12:27 today, the union requested face-to-face negotiations immediately before or after tonight's meeting. Since our lawyer was unavailable to meet on such short notice, we agreed to meet face-to-face with the union negotiating team without our lawyer, and therefore without the union's MTA field rep present. Just a negotiation between the school committee's negotiating team and the union leadership and paras. I'm happy to say that that meeting will take place later tonight. And I want to thank both negotiating teams for giving up their evening. It's a long day for everybody, but thank you. Finally, there have been some emails and Facebook posts circulating implying that monies exist in our food service accounts, which could be used to fund salary increase for paras. While I wish that were the case, it's simply not true. If it were true, if the district had such available funds, it would certainly make negotiations far easier. As our food service director clearly indicated at our last meeting, any cafeteria surplus funds have to be used for food service purposes only. Federal Regulation 210.14 states as much. I am hopeful a fair agreement can be reached even in these difficult fiscal times. We hope negotiations can continue and be productive. As we indicated tonight, we're willing and available to meet in person. So thanks again to both sides. I'd like to start with some good news. Mr. Sweat.
I'll call this good news, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, with public participation.
But I was going to say it anyway in response to your statement. I just wanted to thank the people of the Wareham, the staff of the Wareham Elementary School for giving me such a warm welcome and for being so educational in terms of what I learned while I was there. So thank you.
Thank you. So now we will continue with public participation. Would anyone like to address the committee? Ms. Semple?
Good evening. Deanna Semple, Wareham Education Association President. And I wanted to start off by thanking you. When I was here last, we had invited you to come and visit the schools, and many of you did, and we were really pleased to see that. We really think it's important that you get to see what's going on in our schools, what everybody does, and I was thrilled that you did. I also want to thank you for agreeing to meet tonight, and I'm hoping that we can move forward in a positive direction. I brought some friends with me here tonight, fellow educators from all around and a lot from Wareham, and I think some of them have something to say just to further, let you know how important our paras are to us. Don't let me down, guys. I have my own stuff, but.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Borden, and I have been a paraprofessional for almost 2 years. I don't normally voice my opinion when it comes to my career, because it's not just my career, it's my passion and my dream. When people hear the term paraprofessional, what words come to mind? Empathetic, strong, nurturing, understanding, just to name a few. A teacher and their paraprofessional have a working relationship, just like doctors and nurses, dentists and hygienists, or lawyers and their paralegals. The bond that these young, creative, and active children form with their paraprofessionals is unrestricted and focused. This allowed the teachers and paraprofessionals to work together and help mold the minds of our future. We deserve an increase in compensation for our role in this early and crucial development stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Good
Hi.
evening.
My name is Michelle Hooten. I am a special education teacher. Hi, buddy. I have taught in Wareham since 2009, and I've taught exclusively with students on the spectrum. Here's one of my buddies now, and when he first started, he didn't talk. Mom had a really hard time with sending him to school. She was very nervous. I reached out to her, much to the dismay of some of my higher-ups. But I wanted her to know that he was safe with us. Everything that we do is for our kids. Everything our paras do are for our kids. They go above and beyond. They love our kids, and they don't have the money to give what they give, but they do. And I just want you to know how important they are, because without them, I couldn't do my job. I have 10 kiddos in my classroom. 5 of them could actually be one-on-ones or out of district, but we keep them there because we love them and we do what we can for them. And I'm so appreciative that you all came and saw what we do, but it was literally the beginning of the day, which is the easiest part of the day. I implore you to come in and spend a whole day and really see what my staff does. Sometimes days are great and they go so well, and other times not so much. And, you know, they leave us, but they're always with us. Not just me, but with my staff. And I want you all to know how important that is. And I get it. Money is crazy everywhere. My husband works in big business, and his boss just got fired. So, you know, now they have to figure out stuff. But these are people that are in charge of our little people, and our most vulnerable little people. And they mean so much, and they're worth so much. And without them, I couldn't do my job. So please understand that and just do what's right. Right, buddy? Yes. I love you. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to participate in open comment.
Hi, my name is Talia Tringali. I am just a parent who's here, wasn't even planning on coming, definitely didn't plan on speaking, but I have a fifth grade autistic son. When he was originally diagnosed, he couldn't talk. He had behaviors all the time. Fast forward to now, he not only talks, he never stops. The reciting is a bit crazy, but he's at a college level for reading.
Yes, he is.
He won that presidential award thing last year, Ms. Holden, what was it? I don't know, but it was a presidential award that my son, who at one point couldn't even talk, now he knows words bigger than what I know. And this is literally because of the Wareham school system. They right now have paraprofessionals that go with my son to every class so he can be in all inclusion classes. He's with all the atypical kids every day, and he's just getting better. And we could not do it without them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just told I was going to talk just now. Hello, I'm Terry Currier. I am at the Wareham Middle School. This is my 25th year. I have worked at East Wareham School when it was open. That's where I started. I went to the middle school, I went to the high school, back to East Wareham School, to Deacon's, back to the middle school. So I'm on my second tour of the middle school. They don't like when they call them tours, but that's okay. You came in the other day. Both of you came in and you saw me at a moment. We were in the corner while the teacher was explaining directions to the students. We were trying to explain who was taking what, and it looked like we weren't with the students, and I felt bad about that because we were just trying to figure it out without interrupting the teacher because we were going in 3 different directions. Just a quick update on my daily. When I get here at 7:15, I go directly to a bathroom and potty train a child, and I'm there, we're, quote, waiting him out. So for 45 minutes from 8 o'clock, from 7:15 till a little after 8, I'm in a bathroom. A child and I, an autistic child who doesn't speak. And that's where I am. In fact, the day after the concert, I heard you and Mrs. Cote go by, and I was going to peek out and say hello, but I couldn't do that, of course. I was going to say, welcome to my day. I go late to my next class. I'm supposed to be with a child. I go late to that class. Somebody has to be pulled from another class to cover me because I'm potty training. I go from there late to the next class. The other person goes back to their students, but I also have to leave that first period to take that child out to meet 2 other students upstairs to get them to the other side of the school to make sure they're ready for their class. This is daily. So I'm always late to a class, and somebody's always being pulled to cover me. This is daily. Yes, we do personal care. Yes, we do get a stipend. But that personal care is not sent out for the teachers to do. The nurses don't want to do it. In fact, the nurses call me out of a classroom to do personal care. And it's harder when you get to the older students, especially the girls. This is what we do. I've done it at the high school. I've done it all through. Yes, we do get a stipend, but it goes nowhere else but paras. And we held up our contract for a year because they were making the paras do it. So this is where we are. So if you ever come to the middle school again and go by the bathroom, down by the elevator, and you see occupied, you know I'm there. Just knock and say hello, because that's what I do every single day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
No, I feel important. Good evening. First off, I am not sick.
I have been asked, and I'm Mary Cudioni Nielsen. I've worked in Wareham since 2003. I'm a certified educator working as a para. My certification is teaching young children with or without special needs N through 3. My grad degree is curriculum and instruction with a concentration in special education. So I am shifted a lot around, which is where it's at right now. I truly never know whether I'm on foot, horseback, land, sea, or air, because I'm always somewhere, and, you know, it is what it is. I have been asked to read this letter, which I am happy to. And if I run over, signal, and I promise I'll stop. Okay, well, I will. Dear administrators and those with the power to effect change and to do what's right. It is with a sincere heart that I remind you of the value and essential contributions that paras/teachers' assistants are to our community. Specifically, I would like to remind you of the importance that these dedicated staff members make on a daily basis in the lives of our community's children. You know, the young, vulnerable members of our society who are suffering on so many levels now more than ever. These children need more support now more than ever. I speak from each side as a parent and a colleague. I was a para myself at Freetown Elementary School, where I remained for over 10 years. Over the course of these years, I had the privilege of welcoming our students into their very first year of public school and helping to set foundations for which they would build their education. Teaching in an inclusion classroom was incredibly rewarding, and though not without its challenges, I and my beloved fellow colleagues were a catalyst for learning to read, for instilling, if I start to cry, I'm sorry, for instilling joy and a love of language, celebrating creativity and art, instilling an appreciation for music, movement, math, history, self-care skills, as well as social skills. A helping hand, a confidence-building smile, a healer of recessed wounds, a listening ear whenever needed, a reminder of the importance of taking a calming breath, to use your words, to choose kind words, a mediator when words seemed out of reach, for little ones whose bodies can move faster than their thoughts, a hugger for when life at home was too overwhelming, a caring, trusted voice with words of encouragement and motivator to keep trying even when things get hard, a helper and support to rise up each time you fall, and a touchstone for all accomplishments along the way. I could list an endless list of specific jobs of paras well outside their contract description. The list is long and encompasses a wide range of skills of caring, selfless, often thankless tasks and responsibilities that paras complete every day to support fellow staff and students. They are essential. I was fortunate. I worked in a school where I felt valued and appreciated. I know I was worth more than my paycheck, but my paycheck was not a battle. You knew almost every one of your staff are holding down extra jobs and struggling to support their own families. Why are you punishing them by holding them back to the pay rate that they have earned? Not to mention the morale killer that fighting against them rather than for them takes a toll on mental health.
One more minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. To this very day, I keep in touch with many of the families that I grew to care for in younger years. Many of them are graduating high school and college now. It's been a joy to see them grow and be part of their lives. I leave you with one more point. This time from the point of view as a parent. My daughter was blessed with a para named Mrs. Lisa Farrow. She's a beautiful, kind soul who will be forever part of our family. She was my touchstone when we learned that my husband had cancer when the children were in elementary school. She was an extra set of eyes and a caring heart to look out for my little ones when we were navigating our own upside-down world. I can't put into words how grateful I was to know that my children had extra support while our family was going through such a difficult time. Paras is so much more than just helpers. It radiates from their heart. I hope you will listen and stand in support of them. Our world and our children have never before needed more connection and more support. Thank you, Jen O'Connor.
Thank you. We have time for one more speaker, if anyone else would like to address the committee. Please. Come on up.
Thank you. I brought some of my educational colleagues with me, so I'll let them introduce themselves. But I am Lori Andrade, and I am Falmouth Education Association President. And we came here, and I am also here with a Bourne representative as well. And although Wareham and Bourne, which was where I grew up, have quite a rivalry going, we are here in support of them. As I listened, I never intended to get up here, but as I listened, what I was starting to hear sounded a little on the, like, the teacher assistant or a paraprofessional is not a professional, and they are. And they deserve to be paid more than about $5,000 more than the poverty level. And that's not even with taxes taken out. And that's at people that are on the higher end. So, I implore you to really listen. These people are professionals. Don't let the title fool you. They're all here. We do the job. We have different responsibilities, but they are here, we are here, Falmouth is here, Bourne is here, and we're here for Wareham paraprofessionals. Thank you.
People that would like to speak.
I can give you 2 more minutes, then we have to move on.
3 more people that need to speak.
Oh, they each have, 45 seconds, I guess. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Leandra Booth. Both my husband and I, in the back there, Mr. Wheels, we're both paras. I haven't been a para very long, but in my short time, I've experienced so many things, good, bad. I want to kind of start off with the bad. I'm going to keep it PG because I know that we're being recorded, but hasn't been the best times sometimes. Have you ever been told by an 8-year-old that you can't effing tell me what to do, right in your face? For 2 months, I didn't have a name. I'm Miss Leah for most kids, but I was the B word for months. Just, what's up, B? F you, B. I've been kicked, I've been pushed, I've got the wind knocked out of me. I have seen children climb walls trying to get out of their own head because they just don't want to do math that morning. I've seen children climb tables, flip tables. I've had things thrown at me. I've almost been stabbed. But I do it because these kids are broken. And not in a bad way. They're not bad kids. They're wonderful little human beings that just need extra help. I went home and cried every single day because I just wanted to bring the empathy to these poor children. When I was first told I was going to work with these kids, I cried for a week straight. I told my husband, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Why? Why is it me that has to do this? And then when I did, I fell in love with these kids. I have chased children out of the school because they just are in flight mode, and they're running towards the high school. This was back when mine at Forest was at the middle school. And I chased him. My husband chased him, and he kept running, and it's because that was his response. Unfortunately, that student is no longer in our program because of his flights, but he was just begging for help most days. Now I'm with preschool. I love it. It's wonderful. It's a completely different atmosphere. I change diapers. I take care of kids crying because I just want to be in their mom's arms. I'm still dealing with little things. We have one student that he's going through a rough time, and all he needs is just a little extra love. Sure, we still deal with a lot every day, but these kids just need us. I have also been in a shooting situation where we've had, not at our school district, but in a different one, where there was a school shooter outside of the building. And one student in particular always comes to mind where he was the tough guy, always trying to be the buff, always looking good in front of the kids. But on that day, that little 8-year-old boy was in my arms crying, saying, I don't want to die. I want my mom. And I was the one there with that little boy, that tough little boy that gave me such a hard time every single day. And he was in my arms saying, I don't want to die. What 8-year-old child should be feeling like that? But I dealt with that. I had to keep it together because if I didn't, he wouldn't. He needed somebody there for him. My husband and I are trying to start a family of our own. And yeah, I don't even know how we're going to do that. I can't afford to live my own life. I can't even afford to live every day, let alone think about starting my own family and bringing my child into this world. I just want to have a livable wage. I want to be able to not have to worry about daycare or have to worry about, am I going to need food stamps this week? Or even think about, do I have a vehicle? Because one wrong move and everything I have in savings is gone. You know, I love what I do. The look on a child's face when they get it, when they look you in the eyes and they're like, I did this, I got this. It's so rewarding. It's why I do this every single day. And I love every moment of it, the good, the bad, everything. So I hope that you can see that not everything is sunshines and rainbows and happy stories. Sometimes it's just a little broken mind that needs that extra love. So thank you for your time.
All right, that is, thank you for your participation. That's going to end the public participation session of the meeting. So if people want to, you're welcome to stay. If you want to leave, now would be the time before we go to our next agenda item.
You're welcome. Question, I don't know whether the town meeting rules, town meeting rules, you have to get the approval prior. In that case, it would be us.
All right, we will continue our agenda. We'll go next to good news. Would anyone like to share some good news? Joyce.
Like Jeff, I just want to say thank you to Bethany Chandler and Andrea Cannon at the high school for welcoming us the other day for our visit. It was great to be in the schools. It was great to see get to go in so many classes, see so many teachers and paras working, and I really appreciate that opportunity. And then I want to congratulate the boys basketball team. Got to go to a game the other night. Andy, I'm sorry if I'm taking your thunder here, but it was a great game. And what also I noticed, not just the basketball game, but the stands were full of students, lots of school spirit, lots of things happening. DECA was well represented at the snack bar, so it was great to see. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Oh, Jeff.
I'm not sure what Indy's going to say, but I just wanted to add, having been very fortunate to be high up in the power rankings last year for the tennis team. Your basketball team is they won an overtime game, so they're 1-1 for overtime games against an outstanding team. Boston Tech, I think, was the name of the basketball team. It was a great game from the write-up. They are now ranked. They were number 1. They're now down to number 3 in the state power rankings for Division IV. I also understand what it's like to float up there on the top. In the end, it doesn't make any difference. It's what happens in the playoffs that will count. But all your support means a tremendous amount to that team, so go for it.
Thank you. So we'll segue over to the student representative support. Andy?
Yeah, I'll to echo that, all the students are extremely proud of the basketball team, and I think you can see that from the games being so well attended. We're all super proud to have that team that's performing extremely well, and I believe I was told by the captain of the team that on Max Preps it actually says they're ranked 11th in the state overall, completely.
Not even division.
Not division, just 11th overall, and then first in the division. So that might have been, the power rankings on the MIA website are from January 31st or something like that. So definitely really awesome either way, and we're all very proud of them. So term 2 has officially ended, and I did the math out, and I did the math out for the high school, and 1/3 of our or just about 1/3 of high school students made high honor or honor roll for term 2. So that's really awesome. Term 3 is now in session. That closes March 31st for the high school. Also, the guidance department is inviting all junior families to attend a post-secondary planning night. So they'll talk about opportunities within the high school as well as once you reach outside of high school. And it's really important so students can start planning for their future. This will be on February 15th at 6:30 in the high school auditorium. I know last meeting we were talking about the staff culture in each of the schools. So I thought it'd be cool to include that the high school is having a staff spirit week, and they're all very excited about this, but the students are also particularly excited for Color Day, which is when each department is assigned a color, and every student has to pick which department to wear. And they all have a different color. Mr. Palladino's probably wanting me to wear black, I'm guessing. So we're all really excited for that, especially the staff are super excited for that. I want to point out the school store, or I should say the Cliff Sylvia school store, the Viking ship. Yeah, the Viking ship at the high school has just made great strides this year. And I'm in the DECA program, and I've really seen how much the operations of the store have formalized, especially where it hasn't been open because of COVID for a while. So they've really formalized it to the point where they actually filed for the highest level of certification through DECA's school store program. And they're waiting the results on that. But I just thought, they've got new apparel lines, new products. And they're really doing great. And the kids that are working the store, they're really happy to work it too. So it's really awesome. Dr. Wade, the phys ed teacher at the middle school, was in the Wareham Week recently, and she's amazing. She's about to run her 5th out of 6 total Abbott World Marathon races. Which is a huge deal, and it's a huge deal to even run 4 because I can't run anywhere close to that, and most people can't, but she can, and she's about to run her 5th, and she's looking for support to run that 5th marathon, so you can find out more about that on the Wareham Week website. This isn't particularly pertaining to the schools, but it kind of is, so I want to point it out. It's going to get really cold the next couple of days. The YMCA is actually opening up a warming center, the Gleason Family YMCA, on Friday and Saturday from 8 to 11 in the morning, and they'll have hot coffee, phone charging stations, some more stuff, so definitely a great resource for those who need it, and be sure to stay warm. Also, Hopefully in a future meeting, I'll be able to present results from a mid-year student sentiment survey we'll be sending out to gather input from students about their experiences this year. And last but not least, the Massachusetts Association of Student Representatives recently worked with state senators and representatives to officially file what's called an act relative to student representative voting rights in both chambers of the State House. And this is something that's been long in the making and would amend Massachusetts law to give student representatives a vote on certain matters that come before the school committee. So it's been a long time in the making, and a lot of the students are really proud of that. So I thought I would share that with you guys. And that, if you have any questions, but other than that, that concludes my report.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't
April?
necessarily have a question, but to add on to about the Wise Warming Center for the cold, with any of our families, or if there's any principals or the social workers, Turning Point is also able to provide transportation and some shelter options to any of our homeless families. So if a lot of them don't like to leave the community because they might have kids in school, but if anyone, if some of the teacher, you guys know of a family that might be in need, please have them reach out to Turning Point, because the town has offered some resources in the district as well, where they could set them up in motels for the really cold weekend. If not, they can get free transportation from Turning Point to either Plymouth or Brockton Father Bill shelters.
Anyone else? Joyce?
So I don't have a question, but while we're talking about the high school, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say boys basketball is not the only sport going on at the high school right now.
Yes, it's true.
I didn't want to leave the other ones. The girls basketball, I believe, has a home game tomorrow. And, you know, there's winter track and cheerleading, and so I just wanted to give them a shout out also.
Winter track is doing great too.
They are.
And I mean, so are the other teams, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I believe states
Jeff?
are next week for
Yeah.
winter track.
I forgot under good news. Some of you may remember there's a program called ASLP, Advanced Studies and Leadership Program. It takes place at the Maritime Academy. I recently met with the head of that program, who works for the Cape Cod Collaborative but used to be a commandant at the Mass Maritime Academy. The really good news is that we get an allotment, and it looks like we're fully using that allotment. I think 20 kids have signed up to go to this program, which is STEM-oriented, but I've never met anybody who went to that program who didn't love it, and in some cases, literally changed their lives. This is, it's an outstanding program, and I'm thrilled, Mr. Palladino, that we're taking full advantage of it.
Joyce?
Just to add on to what Jeff just said, so at the Cape Cod Collaborative meetings, it's become clear that there's a lot more financial aid also available for students who are attending.
Yeah, I could elaborate on that, but I'm a little, they just got, well, I can tell you this. It just happened like a couple of days ago. The Make Peace Company committed to $10,000 a year in scholarship money for ASLP, which is a really big thing.
Well, I also attended a ceremony at Mass Maritime where General Electric, I believe, was there awarding them
Oh, great.
money to Mass Maritime, and some of that money was going to be directed to ASLP.
Yes. She has a future graduate who was a... is
Or
her
past
daughter.
graduate, yeah.
Excuse me, past, yes.
Yes,
Has
yes,
a daughter and who's done a great job.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Andy. Great report. Appreciate it. All right, next up on the agenda, we have the principal reports. Who would like to come up first? Dr. Chandler, you win.
Good evening, school committee. It's a pleasure to be here once again, reporting to you about the attendance, school events, curriculum highlights, and whatever else you'd like to talk about. I'd like to thank the school committee for showing presence. It was so much fun to give the tour
Thank you.
with all of you and showcase our school and what's happening. So thank you for that opportunity. For attendance, we've been in school grades 1 through 4, 98 days of school. Our attendance is a 92.69 average attendance, so of course we're looking above that 90%. That's my goal. We're a little bit lower than last month, as I reported, but we are still I feel like in very good shape. We're working very carefully with social worker and guidance counselors with our chronic absences and really following up, doing our due diligence, sending letters, calling, reporting, filing, and whatnot to make sure that every child is able to be at school every day. Events, we have grade 1, we are celebrating our 100th day of school parade. It'll take place Monday, February 6th at 2 p.m. This is a long-standing tradition in the elementary school. Grade 1 students parade around the school wearing their 100th day paper bag vest with 100 things that sometimes fall off of them and everything, but a lot of fun. It's a great family activity, and the children all wear their vest and they sing the 100th day song. In addition, students learn throughout the day the value of 100 by participating in mathematics activities surrounding that number. So a lot of fun. Sometimes we dress up like we're 100 years old, and it's a great day. So that will be Monday. We'll all be celebrating 100 days. Almost there, Indiana. Our band concert is also following February 8th at 6 p.m. We talked about that last month, and I do believe Ms. Wixton passed out a flyer for you. And that will be taking place in our cafeteria. The Hall of Presidents we spoke about Wednesday, February 15th at 6 p.m. I do believe Dr. DeAndrea is dressing like Abraham Lincoln that evening. At least that's what I heard.
Never know.
And new news too, kindergarten registration is coming up March 8th and 9th at Wareham Elementary School. The pre-enrollment begins on March 1st. As you know, it's all of the documents are online now, so in the Wareham Week published next week will be the QR code for the pre-registration along with step-by-step directions of how they're going to come in person on March 8th and 9th with their documents and be introduced to the secretaries, myself, the school nurse, and have their first visit with Wareham Elementary School. So we're going to kick off kindergarten registration during that week. We also have an evening of March 9th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. where the Wareham families can come and register their children for kindergarten. In addition, that same evening, we are having the Scholastic Book Fair. It is very, very exciting time where all of our families get together and look at all of the goodies Scholastic has to provide. So that will be the same night. So our new Wareham families will have that opportunity to go up into the Innovation Hub and look at all of supporting the PTA in the book fair. Highlights for curriculum. I thought I would really just highlight an area that we are working on in Wareham Elementary School that is very exciting, and I'm going to start with grade 3 with a few teachers and then talk a little bit about one particular program. So recently, and I think Dr. DeAndrea was there last Friday when we saw it, Miss Tipton, Miss Day, they just completed a large multi-week CKLA unit on ancient Rome. Students, they worked with maps, vocabulary, architecture, and engaged in daily discussions, including geography, ancient Rome, art, history, Latin prefixes, suffixes, and daily writing in journals. Furthermore, the students were observed engaged in Socratic discussions on current careers, medical, military, architecture, and culinary, and we had a guest speaker because one of their parents actually got his undergrad in ancient Rome history. So he came in, spoke, we saw him in the Innovation Hub, dressed in garb and speaking to the children about Rome. So it was really exciting. So I'm sure you're going to ask what CKLA is. And it's called Core Knowledge Language Arts, and it's really becoming a phenomenon in our school. Our first grade teachers, we have Miss Wolf and Miss Davis, along with Miss Tricker, special ed teacher, who are doing professional development throughout the year in CKLA. And it's built on the science of reading. It's a free program online. Teachers just have to register for it. And it really comes with a lot of thick research on the best practices of reading. and throughout the grades, what happens is more content knowledge, and that's why grade 3 is engulfed into units, because more knowledge becomes very important. So on February 17th, our next full day in service, I invite the school committee again to come see our Shifting the Balance. This is from, they're performing a workshop. They've been doing it all year. These teachers really trying to hone in on understanding the 6 ways to bring the science of reading into a balanced literacy curriculum. And it's really good work, and I'm very proud to see teacher leaders in our building really working to understand the best ways to teach reading in our school. And at this time, I'll take any questions you may have. Or comments, or...
Joyce?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
No.
Jeff? I knew it.
So you've defined chronically absent as 18 days, 18 or more days out, correct?
Yes.
That's what it
But the
says.
state is really 10, so I know.
Yeah, the state has 10%.
Lower, yeah.
Okay.
10%, the state's 10%.
So that 18 or 10% is based on an 180-day school year, right?
I think this is from Tracy, not from...
That's Tracy's, yeah, but,
Okay, but my question comes down to, this is as of January 24th. So we haven't had 180 days. So is this a running chronically absent tabulation, or is it based on 18, which is really based on the full year?
are you speaking, Mr. Spett, of the document in front of you?
Yes, and I assumed it came from you, but if I...
I think it comes from the middle school. I just gave an all-around average of the school.
Do you define kids as chronically absent? Or does the state ask you periodically during the year about chronically absent children?
No, the state doesn't. We investigate that from the school level.
My question, and it'll be for Dan as well, is it a running count of 10% of the days that have occurred so far in the year?
No. The state determines at the end of the year what percentage of your students are labeled chronically absent, and that's 10%.
And when they ask it, once a year?
That's right. Once a year, it's at the end
At the end of the year?
Yes.
We report on it.
Okay, so, all right, so until the end of the year, the 18 has no meaning.
No.
Right.
But it's really good of us to check.
I mean, we want to stay
Often.
on top of it so they don't end up chronically absent.
I mean, I'm looking at 19 students. I guess it doesn't actually say the middle school. It is the middle school. So 19 students are already over that threshold of 18. Wow. That's just a wow. Okay, and in terms of the core knowledge, who gets to define what core knowledge is?
Well, I think
the ancient Romans.
Massachusetts has a pretty defined
I think through the
curriculum.
frameworks is how we would.
Right? The state of Massachusetts.
We would use the state frameworks as a guide for what would be considered core knowledge in each
For this
content
specific
area.
program that you're talking
I
about?
Oh,
don't know about
definitely.
the program.
That's what I'm talking about.
These are practices, I think. The knowledge is
Based on the frameworks?
based on the frameworks.
Thank you.
These are
that's all I need.
practices.
Okay.
The 6 ways, actually, just 6, they're ways. 6 ways,
Understood.
shifting
Thank you,
the
Mr.
balance.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Dr.
all.
Chandler.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll have the middle school up next. It looks... Mr. LaFever, thanks for stepping in tonight.
Not a problem, anytime. So attendance at the middle school as of January, we're at 93.4%. That's our number as of now. School events. On January the 19th, we celebrated an art show in the library. We had our band and chorus concert in the auditorium. Both were great hits. Today, Term 2 report cards were issued to students. February the 8th is going to be an early release day. 12:05 at the middle school. February the 15th is going to be our PTA meeting, 6:30 PM at the Wareham Elementary School. It'll also be virtual for people that want to attend virtually. On February the 16th, we're bringing back our High Honors Breakfast. It's something we did before COVID. It was a big hit with parents and the students, so we're going to have our first one on the 16th. In-service day on February the 17th, and then February school vacation on February the 20th. We just finished our second round of NUIA testing. The results went home with students today in their Term 2 report cards. In March, we have one of our events last year was one of the biggest hits with students. Last year we did in March College and Career Month, and we did probably one of the biggest hits with the students was we did a scavenger hunt, staff-student scavenger hunt, where we based the scavenger hunt on different facts about different staff members. Students had time at lunchtime to go around and question different staff members and have their scavenger hunt signed, you know, who went to Bridgewater State, who played a sport in college. It really, you know, was something that started out little, but really gave students a time to really get to know the staff and the different teachers in the building. We're gonna do that again in March, hopefully maybe do 2 different rounds of it. We also had a day where we all wore our college sweatshirts. That was a big hit, brought a lot of discussion amongst staff and students. And we're looking to maybe have some panel members from the community come in and speak about different careers, their college experiences. And, you know, we're looking to every year further a little bit more what we do with that, because it's been a big hit with the students. There's an ST Math Challenge coming up. If students complete more than 64% by the end of March of their journey in the ST Math program, they will earn an ice cream party with Mrs. Cote. In ELA, students just completed the 3rd writing benchmark, and that's about all that we have going on at the middle school right now.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Any questions? Mr. Sweat?
First of all, I was remiss in only referencing ASLP as it applied to the high school. Your guidance counselor, Melissa Hawkinson?
Hokinson, yep.
Hokinson, excuse me, has done a tremendous job from what I can tell from talking to Steve Kelleher, who's running the program, so my thanks for your efforts as well.
Yes.
Back on the attendance, it appears that some of these chronically absent kids are chronically absent because of excused absences.
Correct.
Can you give me an example of what would cause someone to be chronically absent and excused?
Someone might have a surgery and need to be out and has a doctor's note that they can't be in school for.
So it's primarily medical?
Primarily medical, yes.
Wow, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Faber.
you.
All right, guys, thank you.
Mr. Palladino?
Hello. Thank you for having me. Our attendance for January, with 19 days of school, was as follows. 8th grade, 92.3, 9th grade, 94.2, 10th grade, 92.7, grade 11, 94.2, grade 12, 93, overall 93.1. Our goal is to maintain 93% or better for the year, and I'm happy to say we are on target. February is a very short month as far as number of days, but also number of days in school for obvious reasons. School events. Meetings are happening as we speak with all grade levels to start the scheduling process for next year. Wednesday and Thursday were MCAS retakes at the high school. Tuesday, February 7th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium, we are having our annual AP, IB, and dual enrollment night. On Wednesday, February 15th, we have our college night for juniors and their families at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. And on Thursday, February 16th, our Mass Grad Grant is having a parent/Viking night at 6 p.m. in the auditorium, and they'll be publicizing that in the local papers, but rumor has it Stephen Core is going to be coming back to speak to students and parents, so we're pretty excited about that. February 17th, as you heard, is an in-service day, and then vacation follows up the next week. From a curriculum highlight, I'm really happy to report that we have new classes that have began for semester 2 on Monday the 23rd, And most importantly, we were able to bring back a core ELA classes, for semester 2 through a DESE grant. So we're really excited to have that class in place, and we actually were able to roll it out with the support of Mr. Murray covering those classes until our new hire is in place. Now that NEASC is officially over, our staff are using any Monday meeting days, in-service days, or early release days to revise and write curriculums. So we're very much entrenched in that as we speak from a PD standpoint. Winter sports are winding down, and the playoffs will be here for a couple of teams, as you heard about earlier under Good News. Joyce, thank you for bringing up, we have other sports besides boys basketball.
Yes.
They are certainly doing really well, but so are all of our other teams, and we also have hockey going on for boys and girls. So very excited about having quite a few of these teams in the tournaments. The schedule for next year is in the process of being built. And Indy, I didn't hear you say anything about Deca States coming up.
I had to save some for you.
All right, I appreciate that, appreciate that. And what was remarkable about the Deca States, like 90 some odd % of the students that we brought to regionals are going on to states. That is an amazing number. We're usually happy with 50% going from regionals to states, and then like 10%, if you're lucky, going to nationals. To have 90 some odd % of our students going to states is a remarkable feat. And I saw the check being released the other day, and I said, I don't remember having a check released for that amount of money for states in my career. So it's a pretty good problem to have, and it's pretty exciting. So that concludes my report. Certainly entertain any questions you may have.
I just want to add, for people that may not know, Stephen Cooper was a Wareham High School alumnus that went to the University of Maine on a football scholarship, could have gone Division I basketball as well, and played for the San Diego Chargers as a linebacker, and he's coaching football out in San Diego right now. So him coming back would be a great experience for the kids.
It is, and I was reminded that I need to make sure I tell the kids about him. I feel like everyone
That
should know
generation doesn't know him anymore.
what that really means.
Hey, he's a class of 97.
97,
That was a
okay.
good class.
Jeff?
Could you elaborate on AP-IB dual enrollment night? What exactly does that mean?
So these are all opportunities for our students that want to take on an advanced challenge. And what we do is we have one night where we take 20 minutes to discuss each program in depth of 20 minutes. And then we stick around and have a question and answer section at the end of that hour. And it's probably one of our best attended nights for any type of parent presentation. We'll usually have about 50 parents in the auditorium because it coincides with this scheduling process that I talked about a little while ago. So it's just an informational night, and you're more than welcome to come by. And I think you may have even been to one of those at one time. It's a great night for us just to highlight these 3 great programs that we have.
Have you been to one of those?
Oh, yeah.
He's spoken at one of those.
And is it open to all students or certain grades, or?
So it's open to everyone, because anyone can take those level courses. But what we certainly do is we certainly encourage all juniors and seniors that are contemplating IB, AP, or dual enrollment courses for the next year to come to our presentation.
What's the date and time again?
So that is next Tuesday, just make sure I have, and that is Tuesday, February 7th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium.
2/7. You said 6 o'clock?
6:30 p.m.
6:30. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
April?
So I know I probably should have also asked this of Indy, and so it's good that you're both, but I know that what month typically do a lot of the senior big events start, and when do you start publishing dates for that?
So everything involving seniors is on the senior Google Classroom. So if you're not subscribed to that, I would subscribe to. I know your son is subscribed because I see.
That doesn't mean I get any.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
At
Trust me.
all.
I had a senior once. I know how it goes. And then also we'll be posting on the website and the Facebook page as we get going. To answer your question, that's more probably right around April vacation where all those things start to get highlighted. Most of them will occur in May, and obviously culminating with graduation in June.
Really exciting for this particular graduating class being the first to go full back to quote-unquote, normal activities after having so many challenges and changes and hybrids and concessions from the pandemic. So I'm excited for the kids to be able to experience that. So I hope a lot of the parents are able to participate in things.
I hope so too. This is also our first group to be there for 5 years, to graduate.
Oh, I'm aware. It's been a long 5 years.
He's doing great.
All right.
That's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Palladino.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the grants report. Kristen Flynn.
Good evening. In your packet, you have some reports that I submitted for your review for grants. I'm just going to take a few minutes to go over what you have to explain. What I did is I made a grant summary Excel sheet that mimics the Department of Education grant-approved budget. So you'll see when we apply for grants, we have to submit an application, which includes an approved budget. There are various staff members that are responsible for doing that. There are some grants that are administered through the Office of Student Services. There are some that are administered through Dr. Schwam, some that are administered through Beyond School Time. Those are most of the ones there. So the administrator responsible will apply for the grant when it comes out from DESE, and most of our grants are administered through the Department of Education. And then they will submit a budget, it'll be reviewed and hopefully approved, and then that's what we work off during the year. And some of these grants go for 1 year with a carryover. So you'll see that not only are we spending down grants that we were awarded in FY23, we're also spending down grants that we were awarded in FY22, and in some cases FY21. So we've got a couple of different years of the same grant going. So we have to be specific about our record keeping with that. Tonight, I'm going to focus more on the FY23 grants, but I did include the FY22 as a comparison because I felt it important to show the change in total funds from 22 to 23, and I'll get to that. So with your grant application, they all have categories, which I've broken out: salaries, and that can be professional salaries, administrator salaries, instructional staff, support staff, and stipends. Just to make it concise here, I included all salaries and stipends in the same column. Fringe benefits, and that is strictly what the retirement that's taken out of the grants for the salaries that apply for that. So it's not insurances, it's just the county retirement or the mass teacher's retirement, and that is a requirement of these grants. That has to be taken out of salaries that are eligible. So a full-time teacher's salary, there would be an additional 9% of that salary that would go in that column. Contractual services, that can be for outside vendors. I'm going to use one of the special education grants for an example. That can be some related services professionals. If you have some instruction that is needed beyond what we can provide in our school, sometimes it might be related services or psychological services. Those are some examples. Supplies and materials, the supplies and materials that will support the priorities of the grant. And I will say, if you're interested in further information, beyond what we have, on the Department of Ed's website, if you go into the finance and accounting section, there is a section on grant opportunities and federal grants. And there's a listing of all the grants for every district. So you just have to take a little time to figure out how to find it. But you can go to each grant, and they have a couple-page document that looks like this, and they'll tell you the purpose of the grant, the priorities, the eligibility, and different things, additional information, due dates, fund use. So that's what guides us in how we apply for the grants and how we spend the grants. And that could be helpful if that's something you want more information about. And actually, the grant summary, the written document, the Word document, is I pulled that just as a quick summary for you all to give some context to what these grants are. When we talk about certain grants, we know what they are. We might say the 305 is Title I, but perhaps if you're not into it, you might not have an idea of what all that entails. So that's why I provided the written summary to give you a quick, blurb of that information, but certainly more can be found on the Department of Ed's website. So going further, in the budget, We also might have a budget for travel, and that is usually for staff to attend professional development and the fees and travel reimbursement that it encompasses. There's also a column for other, and that can be some other things. What we see a lot is transportation would go in there, if some grants will allow transportation. And also, in the special education grant, the very large special education grant, that's where we have our tuitions to collaboratives that we use funds for that. And there's also some grants have equipment. In this listing, you'll see only one grant has equipment listed, and that's the new grant that we received this year, the Improving Ventilation and Air Quality, and that's for major equipment. And in that, you'll see that is for the rooftop unit that we're going to be replacing at the high school. So that's just an overview of what I provided. Again, I put in the 22, the 23, so you can see, compare from year to year. Sometimes you get awarded more in a certain grant, some years less. It really depends. And a lot of these, and how I did organize it was basically by all of the beyond school time grants at the top. Circuit breaker is the state's reimbursement for special education expenses. And here we're using that primarily for tuitions, for collaborative and private tuitions. There's also, I put in a non-recurring column for the pandemic related. You'll see in FY23, there's only one grant, which is that heating and ventilation grant. In FY22, you're gonna see that's where we have all of our ESSER grants and some of the ARP grants. So those grants, they were awarded in FY22. We're continuing to spend them in FY23, and in some cases, in the case of ESSER 3, into FY24. But these sheets are organized as to when the grant was awarded. So if you're thinking, oh, I hear you talking about ESSER, Kristen, why don't I see it on 23? It's because it was an FY22 award that's carrying over to 23 and 24. And then you also have the other grants. Most of those are a lot of the entitlement grants, the ones that don't change too much in funding or in how we spend the funds from year to year. So that's what's included there. And then finally, I did include a sheet of the private grants, some of the private grants that have been given to Wareham Public Schools. So I don't know if anyone has any questions at this time, but I can certainly take them.
Joyce?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for the detailed reports. It's so helpful to have the list of the grants with the descriptions, too. So, but the biggest difference that I noticed was on circuit breaker. And I know that you've talked before about identifying costs that qualify for circuit breaker. So is that one of the reasons why there's such a difference? Or do we have more expenses?
It could be both. I think in this case, and I'm glad that I have these two ladies here, but in this case, we have some more funds for transportation. I think this was one of the first years that transportation expenses were eligible.
Okay.
So that we can maximize. It could also be that there could be more eligible expenses, such as tuitions and maybe some related services. I'm not sure if there's anything else.
So the transportation cost went up to 50% from the year prior, which is 25%. That's the majority of the increase.
Oh, okay. I mean, it didn't double, but almost doubled. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff?
So first, the 440 some odd thousand related to IDEA under other. That always attracts my attention. What is that?
So that's the tuition. So as part of that grant, we have written in tuition expenses for collaboratives.
Other is tuition? I think we
Yes.
could call it tuition, couldn't we?
Well, that's what the column in the expense column that DESI puts in. So these are strictly.
We gotta follow
these
DESI
are their
rules, don't we?
labels. Yes, these are their labels. But in this case, for us, it is tuition.
Okay. A generic question as applies, but it's especially as it relates to, say, a Title I. These dollars, I know they got smaller from 22 to 23, but that's mostly ESSER. These dollars do not supplant LEA the LEA budget, they augment the
Correct.
LEA budget, correct?
Correct.
So, you know, it looks like a big number, but it doesn't help us meet our budget.
Right, you could not take funds from Title I to offset your operating budget. It has to be, some grants you can, but that's very rare, I think.
I was about to say,
It's
are there
very,
any?
very rare.
Very rare,
Very
yes.
rare,
Now, is that less rare on the private grants?
I think the private grants have their own, I think they probably have their own set of, like, how you use it, what it can be used for. So a lot of these grants are federal grants, so they're coming, the regulations are coming from the federal regulation through the state, through the Department of Ed.
And finally, if I'm I mean, Title I has, I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was about $600,000 worth of salaries associated with Title I. If I'm an employee and I'm being paid by Title I, or any grant for that matter, do I know it?
You should, you should.
Do I?
I don't know.
Whose job is it to tell an employee, your paycheck is actually coming from a grant?
I think it's all of us administrators who are responsible for the
Maybe I
grants.
should ask the superintendent. then.
When we post it, we put that it's a grant-funded position.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody understands that I may be an employee of Wareham Public Schools, but I'm only an employee as long as the grant keeps paying my salary.
Correct.
They understand that?
They understand that, yeah.
That's a tough position to put someone in. How often do you find from year to year that the grant no longer supports the employees that we've got?
I have not had much experience where that happened, to be honest,
Really?
other than now with ESSER going
Yeah,
away.
S
that-
is a whole nother story.
It's a whole nother story, but these entitlement grants, we utilize to pay salaries, and they're very reliable grants.
Except that Title I, I'm old enough to, I've been around long enough, I remember when it was twice as big as it is today. So at some point, you know, as it keeps going down, further and further down, some poor employee is going to suddenly find they're not funded.
Right.
And that's what I'm
Well, if
concerned
it
about.
goes slow enough, we can transition it into the budget.
Which is the real problem, isn't it? Because that means you have to find it in the LEA budget because it isn't in the grant budget.
That is correct.
That's quite a burden. Thank you. I agree with my colleague. I think they're wonderful documents and reports, and I don't think we've ever seen them before. As usual, you're setting a new standard.
And I will say, there are a lot of people who are working hard, such as Melissa and Kathy and Dr. Schwam and Jane, who you'll see next meeting, who are searching out for many new grants that are coming up. There's many, many grants. These are just the ones we've been approved for. There's several on the horizon, too. And so they're all working hard and spending a lot of time writing these grants and making sure that we can try to make things work with some new funds that we might be getting, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Springtown warrant issue. Dr. DeAndrea, or whoever would like to address this? Eric?
Okay, so you should have received in your packet this colorful little map.
Oh, yes.
Because Eric is a Green Bay Packers fan.
Sorry.
So he has gone with Green-
Sorry about that.
That's a good line.
Want to make sure it's nice and visible for everyone to see.
All right. So I'll just do a quick intro here. So as you are aware, we have been accepted into MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. We were very fortunate that the town supported our warrant article for the boiler project at the high school. This fall, along with, on this map, the yellow part, Section F for 1.5 million. Those two projects are scheduled to be completed over this coming summer, which is great. that section F, the yellow section, is the part that leaks the most, not the only part that leaks, but the one that leaks the most. So that will be a welcome repair here at the middle school or over at the middle school. The remainder of the roof then is, we're targeting the summer of 2024 for the remainder of the roof. Now, that's a little bit bigger price tag, about $7.4 million. Some of that money is reimbursable, or some portions of it. After everything would be said and done, and we are reimbursed for the sections of the roof that are reimbursable, the town would end up paying $5,256,530. Wait a second, I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, so the total project budget is that 8.9 million, but we already used 1.5 towards it. And then if you subtract the grant, which would approximately be around 2.2 million, that's how you get that 5.2 million.
So what we're asking here, what we're asking the school committee tonight is supporting putting the warrant article on the spring town meeting warrant to ask the town to support the $7,491,377 to complete the summer of 2024 roof project. That would be the green sections on the map. We would ask the town for the entire cost of the work, and how it works is that the town would pay for it and then be reimbursed the correct amount that is reimbursable from MSBA. And the language for the warrant article is also in your packet, so I'm sorry.
No, you said it all.
April, I have a question?
So obviously, we want a functional building. So just hypothetically, like so that the people in the town understand the importance of this at town meeting, if they do not vote for this, what does that mean for the school and the kids and the roof?
So the roof has failed. That would be the best way to explain it. It has been repaired and repaired and repaired, and it's Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid. It has failed. It is wet. There's water entering the building, and water is, as you know, very damaging. And it also will have a domino effect because all of these projects are contingent upon each other. So if this part of the building fails, it's going to impact the other projects that we have with MSBA. So it is if it does not get supported, it really puts us in a bad position.
Like I said, I understand. I just don't know necessarily always that people at town meeting are as well informed as to what it means if it does not pass.
The town administrator has asked us to present at town meeting, just do a quick overall explanation of what the project means and where we are and where we're going. So we will be putting that together.
Great, thank you.
And just to add to that, every test cut that they did, I think they did about 50 test cuts around the entire roof just to check for the insulation underneath. They found water in every section of that roof. So every part is compromised, section A, V, U, you name it.
Then that ends up leading to mold and respiratory issues.
Correct, so if the water hasn't made its way down to be visible yet, it will soon. So it's right there. So it's either you get reimbursed something or we're gonna have to do it anyways and then just not get any reimbursement, so.
Jeff?
So if I was in town meeting, the first thing I would say is, what is the warranty on this new roof that we're putting? Because this one hasn't lasted 30 years.
Correct. I think the manufacturing for this roof was 10 to 15 years, but I think we're at 20. So we're just outside that warranty.
No, not the current roof. When we put on
And if we do it again, I don't know what the terms would be, but I would hope we can extend it as we can, if that's what you're asking.
Well, we're putting a new roof on, right?
Right.
Which means we're not going to be extending anything. We're be getting a new warranty, correct?
Correct. But, all right, so The installer's warranty will probably last about 1 to 2 years.
Not interested in that.
Correct. So Sonofil's usually, with the membrane, the manufacturer, that's the longer one. And I guess I was using the old roof as an example. So the roof that we have now, I think it's between 10 and 15 years.
Don't
They
care
look
about
back. It would be the same thing, essentially, for the new roof.
So
I don't think their warranties extend longer than 15 years.
I'm pretty sure that the elementary school has a longer warranty than 10 to 15 years. Do you remember?
I do, it's longer than that.
It's
I hope so,
It's
which would be great.
substantially longer.
Okay.
And it would be worth it, assuming this is a manufacturer that's going to be around in 30 years.
Yeah, let's hope.
Let's hope, right? It would be worth it to pay a little extra to get that extended warranty on the new roof.
Correct.
And I would insist on it if I was at town meeting. Okay, so we want to have a good answer to that question because it should come up. I promise not to ask it, but let's be prepared.
I'll be prepared.
We'll have the answer, and then we'll ask you to ask it.
Okay. Secondly, I understand how the MSBA works very well. So the almost 7.5 million is the total cost of the project, and then the MSBA reimburses. How much did you say the MSBA was reimbursing?
The 2.2 million on that 7.4 million.
That's a very low percentage.
It is.
Why is it so low? Why did they give us essentially 75 on the new elementary school and only essentially 30-some% on this?
MSBA guidelines, as far as their thresholds for being eligible for full reimbursement, is a roof that's over 30 years. This roof is not. Only certain sections are. So if you look...
But I thought that was the reason we had to pay 100% of the cost for the yellow section.
Correct. So it's not just the yellow section that is unreimbursable. The only sections that are reimbursable are M through Q.
I see.
U and V.
So that 2.5 million is essentially a bunch of different reimbursement levels that adds up to the 2.5 million.
Correct. It's only those certain sections that are actually eligible for reimbursement. So everything else, no.
They want it to be at least 30 years, right?
Correct. I think 29 if you want to get technical.
Which is a damn good reason to make sure we have an extended warranty.
Correct.
That gets us to 30 years.
And by the time they push it out every year. So it was
Okay.
at 25, then 27, so on and so forth.
Let's make sure we get that
Yeah.
warranty, because I want the next MSBA, God knows I won't be around, but I want the next person who has to deal with this to be able to say, MSBA, we're ready for you. This is 30 years old.
So we'll speak with the OPM and everyone to make sure that's in the bid language. Here, this is how long we want
And
it.
I promise the final question, is there an official school building committee for this project?
No, I don't think it's required because it's a accelerated repair program, not like the elementary school, which is
Because
the
it
core
refers
project.
to a school,
does.
to a building
It does
committee.
because of the language that it's, I think it's just a copy and paste. That's language based on core projects like the elementary school was, but this is a ARP, accelerated
Don't
repair
get me wrong, I don't
program.
want to be on any committee, but.
We don't have to have one.
Talks about it, I thought we might, perhaps should have one.
I guess we could, but if
think
it's
I-
not required.
I nominate, Kristen and Matt,
Done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
My question was just about the reimbursement, so I'm good.
I just wanted to, first of all, I wanted to say that the second page has the ballot question, because this will have to go to the ballot. And so this is, I know I informed the committee, this was submitted to the town last week. Derek had asked that we do that. And I ask that you support this with a vote tonight. We will resubmit it just to make sure that they know that you have voted to support it if you indeed do. And then I believe that we will be asked to come to the select board and to the FinCom to talk about this. I'll let you know when that is scheduled.
Great.
So we will need a motion to place this article on the warrant. Do we need to read the thing verbatim again?
I don't think you do.
Let's do it.
Jamie
I
said
mean,
yes.
you're welcome to. I don't think you do. I think you just need to vote to submit the warrant article.
Jamie would feel better.
Oh, okay, I take it back.
So I nominate Jeff to do the reading of the article to be
Is it just the
submitted.
ballot question I have to read?
The article itself.
Asked if you want me to do it.
If you want to do it.
Go right ahead, April. Just read the article, please.
All right, right. To see if the town of Wareham, the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the school building committee for the roof replacement project at Wareham Middle School, 4 Viking Drive, Wareham, Mass. 02571, which proposed repair project would materially extend the useful life of the school and preserve an asset otherwise is capable of supporting the required educational program for which the town has applied for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and if the MSBA's Board of Directors votes to invite the town to collaborate with the MSBA on this proposed repair project, any project cost the town incurs in excess of any grant that may be approved by received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town. Do you have to read the motion too?
We have it seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 500. And April, you should read the caveats at the bottom of prescription ads on TV.
I was a big fan of the Micro Machine Man in the 80s, so like I used to try purposely to talk as fast as humanly possible.
Thank you. Okay, so next up on the agenda is the Student Services Report.
Go Packers.
Had to get that in at the last minute. It's going to take me just a second.
Sure.
By the way, Eric, green makes it look like it's in good shape. I'd choose a different color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moldy brown.
Nope.
Feels good.
I'm not trying to use a non-Mac. It's going to be a little... He said I was going to be signed in. This went much smoother when Tech came to prep us for this earlier today.
Might just be MFA, I don't think you have to do.
I don't have to do the whole thing? Does anybody know what like the tip of the general password is on here? Yeah. Is it, maybe we'll just go in under this. Yeah. Does somebody know it?
Yeah, he just told you.
What is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Now everybody knows.
Better not be. Oh, my goodness.
Good job, Andy.
Good thing Bonnie LaSource
Bonnie
wasn't
just
here.
cringed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Bonnie cringes at a lot of things that I do, so it's okay. Keep my password on the inside of things. All right, now I go to. Drive, right? Is that it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm typically on a Mac, so this is like really difficult for me to use a non-Mac computer. No, we don't.
Just the little thing that turned it into. Andy, can you show her how she can go to full screen?
Just click the slideshow button. Yep, right there.
Aha! How many people does it take? I need an IEP for her to do this. Can you guys hear me without a microphone, or do you want me to?
Yes.
But you need the microphone for the recording.
Because I don't have anybody to move my button, unless, Joan, you want to move my... my assistant.
Such an offer.
All right, sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Melissa Fay, Director of Student Services.
And I'm Kathy Boulia. I'm the Audit District and Program Coordinator for the district.
So we just put together a few slides just to kind of give you updates. I know some of you who have not been on the school committee in the past may have missed some of these numbers and might not know some of this information, so I figured I'd just kind of start from the beginning to give an overview. So in our department, Student Services, under our umbrella is a great deal of things. We cover special education, related services, so that's our speech, OT, board certified behavior assistants, our analysts, I'm sorry, PT, so physical therapy, nursing, speech, vision, hearing services, counseling, guidance, nursing, I already said, yeah. So that's all under our department, as well as homeless. I am the homeless liaison. Our office serves as a homeless liaison office for the district. Also foster students, 504 plans, so the Americans with Disabilities Act is covered under our office, and English language learners as well. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of how many students we have. So with active IEPs in our district right now, there are 659 students on active IEPs. This is, when I say active, it means they have been found eligible and have an active IEP in our system. This does not count the students who are currently going through the eligibility process or have been referred to special education. That probably will add about another 40 to 50 students on to this number. And I broke it down by school for you because I knew that there were going to be questions about that. So at the elementary, we have 331, middle school 145, high school 183. And we're hovering around 32% right now, special education in the district, and the state average right now is 18.9 at last reporting period, so that was last year's report. Right now, we currently have 45 students that are placed in out-of-district schools, either collaborative or private. We have 110 students in the district with 504 plans currently. That's 18 at the elementary, 33 at the middle school, 59 at the high school, which is about 0.5%. That's actually under the average for the state. And we have 31 English language learners currently and 22 former English language learners. So they've kind of graduated from the English language learner program. Our programs, in all of our buildings, we have our full inclusion program, partial inclusion program, learning center, our autism spectrum disorders program, and our therapeutic learning center programs. And if anybody has questions about specific programs, we're happy to answer those. And then we have a few specialized programs that are building specific. So at the elementary school, we house our Wareham integrated preschool program. And at the high school, we have additional programs of our young adult program, and also our high school connect program, which is our high functioning ASD program at the high school. This is a list of our staffing. I'm not going to read every individual one to you because I've already kind of read what our department encompasses. But these are all of the staffing on top of our special education teachers and our special education paraprofessionals that fall under our department. And what's going on with us. So we just completed our tier focus monitoring. So it's the old coordinated program review is what everybody remembers it as. In the last 2 years, they've changed that over to tiered focus monitoring. We just completed it for English language learners program in, oh my gosh, last fall. And we've spent the last year, almost a year, implementing our corrective action plan. And we have finally graduated from that. So we have been granted full proficiency in our English language learner program. And in 3 years, we'll start that process all over again. We're going to be moving into our tiered focus monitoring process for special education starting in the spring. We have our meetings coming up, and this will be our self-reflection year. So we'll start all of those meetings and trainings for our staff, probably April, late March, early April. This is going to be my second one with the district, so it's going to be exciting and a lot of work, but we're happy to do the work. Through our grant that I had spoken to you about at another meeting, I think the last meeting that I was at, High Point is now providing mental health services and prevention treatment services in all three of our buildings now. So we started out at the middle school, we've expanded to elementary and high school now. And then we are happy to announce, speaking of grants, thank you, Kristen, that our department wrote a competitive grant the 311. It's a social emotional grant. The name of the grant is there. It's kind of long. Supporting students' social emotional learning, behavioral, mental health, and wellness through multi-tiered systems of support. Kathy and I have been attending many meetings that are a requirement and many webinars and trainings regarding the use of these funds. We have been awarded $100,000 for this. And this grant will help support a partnership with an agency called Effective School Solutions. That partnership with Effective School Solutions will be at the high school specifically to strengthen us and support our therapeutic learning center there. And I'll be doing a presentation in the future once we get rolling, and I will hopefully be able to bring them here to speak to you about our progress and the process of getting them set up at the high school. And that's all I've got, and if anybody has any questions, Kathleen and I are happy to answer them for you.
April?
So the number difference between active IEPs and 504 plans, and obviously in the IEP category, it starts off significantly higher and then drops down significantly once they get to the high school, and it's opposite for 504s. It seems that more students are on 504s at the high school than the other two schools. Do you think that there are students that are on active IEPs that would benefit from a 504 as opposed to an IEP, and that people, out of ignorance of what a 504 is, are requesting IEP services? Or what do you feel is the difference between 32%, which is significantly higher, obviously, than the DESE average, to 0.05% for 504, which is significantly lower, I would think, than what most averages are? So is there a plan, or have you looked at ways to meet that in the middle, or find if there's an overuse of IEP because that's what people tend to know more than the 504, and which would be most beneficial for their child?
So just kind of, that's a multi-section question. So a 504 plan would be to support a child environmentally, in their environment. It's not for related services and specialized instruction or modified instruction. So when we have a child that comes either through our SST teams, our student support teams, or are referred by a staff member, a family member, a physician, a community member, and we start our process, our testing will look at, it's standardized testing that we're using, the testing kits, right? So we use those kits, we do our observations, we use several different tools to do our evaluation process. And then that data is what tells us if that child, where that child falls and what services that child is going to require. So you can't necessarily take a child from an IEP and just move them to a 504, and I don't feel that it's, because a 504 is not providing specialized instruction or modified curriculum, that's not going to give the same amount of service that an IEP is going to give. Now, that being said, there are children who have an IEP and a 504. That is a possibility. We have children who have severe allergies or are diabetic or have some other health situation that requires specialized medical attention or modifications to the environment that they're in. Like there can't be a rug, or there can't be any kind of cloth, or they're not, some kind of dairy or other chemical that they're allergic to. But then they also require specialized instruction or related services in order to make progress in the curriculum. So they might have both plans. Not many students have that, but we do have a few. So I would say that our teams are very well trained, and we have a very succinct process that we use in looking at eligibility. And I think the numbers that you see are higher because at the elementary school, because we have many people moving in to town, and we're getting many referrals in from early intervention. So we have a very long waiting list for preschool. We have a list even for our typical peers coming in to be in preschool that actually pay for preschool, as opposed to our special education students that attend for free. I think that's driving our numbers up at the elementary school. And it's also just the sheer size of the elementary school when you look at the numbers of the elementary school versus the middle versus the high. And I think that is really what is driving those numbers that you see. I don't think that it's a lack of understanding about the difference between a 504 and IEP, and I certainly don't think it's systemic with our process either, because we're following the process as it's laid out by the federal government and the regulations in Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Yep.
why do you think the percentage is so much higher than the state average in general? That's a huge number.
It's a very good question. So we have, we have a very unique community, and we have very many severe needs with the students that we see coming in, and this is my 6th year. So in the 6 years that I've been here, I've seen a very large shift of the younger ones coming in that are coming out of early intervention, that are giving us students that years past, when I first started 15 years ago, would have been children who would have gone to collaboratives because the school department or school system wouldn't be able to support their needs. So I think by building the programming that we've built, which is not different than other districts in the Commonwealth or in the country, we're able to support students' needs in that least restrictive environment better than we could 10 years ago. So I think that it's kind of a perfect storm, and I also think that it's the tools that we have to determine disabilities, and eligibility for special education now are so much better, and I think that's why you're seeing our numbers increase, not just here in Wareham, but across the Commonwealth and across the country, really.
But we're still, I mean, we're almost double the state average. And I guess I just don't know why. I mean, I know what you're saying, that some people might be drawn here because we have capabilities within the school to house them, but I don't know what percentage that is of that 33%. Other questions at this time?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions.
Joyce?
So the staffing, so I ask you this question every year, right? So I ask you about bringing students back. So right now you have 45 out of district. Is that up or down from last year?
It's pretty constant.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. And is that, even though it's constant, does it change? Some go in, some go out, but it just, it stays around that number?
Around that number. This year, we have a good amount of kiddos that are meeting graduation requirements who are attending out-of-district placements, and so they'll be graduating with a diploma. So we'll have some movement with the number there, which is, since I've been here, this is my 4th year. We've not had more than 1 student per year graduate. It's projected that we have about 6.
That are in out-of-district placements? Okay. All right. That's good news, right? Yeah.
Love it.
And so, I always ask you about bringing students back and, making sure that we have the resources to support them, because as much as you want to bring them back, our resources aren't unlimited in the buildings, right? So just a little bit about how you do that. I mean, every building, do you consult with the people in the building? How does that work?
As far as how we staff?
No, when you're trying to make a decision on whether or not a student could come back to the district.
Yeah. So there's a process that we go through, and we talk about transitioning back into Wareham Public Schools at every meeting that we have for kiddos who are in out-of-district placements. We talk about the progress, we talk about the recommendations that the school has, and usually the recommendations come from the school letting us know, looking at all the data that they have taken over the years to support a transition back. And then once that has been decided, the parents involved in these discussions as well. Once that's decided, we get in touch with whatever school they're planning to come back into. We work with the special ed administrators and the principals, and we create transition plans in order for them, the kids, to kind of transition into the district slowly, and then hopefully become successful and maintain their progress within the district. Last year, we had 5 kids transition back, and all of them are doing well.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
5 across the grades?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, we visited the buildings the other day, and we saw many different people that work with the students, right? Paras being one of them. So those paras and other staff, do they ever get moved based on the needs among the buildings?
Yes. So we have staff that are building specific. What I've tried to do in my tenure here is to make sure that our staff are fluid and can move between buildings. So as an example, our number of students that require the service of a BCBA, so the Board Certified behavior analyst has greatly increased at the elementary school. So we were able to shift the high school BCBA, who doesn't have as high of a caseload, to work a few days over at the elementary school in order to support the needs there. So we try to keep that model open so that we're able to shift services where they're needed most without having to contemplate posting and hiring.
Okay, that's great that you're able to. And then just another question about the effective school solution. So $100,000, how, is that a 1 year? How much time will that give you with that program?
So I wrote a competitive grant for that, which this year will be $100,000 and hopefully will increase to $350,000 next year.
Okay.
The cost of that program for this year is going to be $157,000, which will be fully grant funded.
Okay.
So that's fully coming out of grants that our department has written. The hope would be that next year we will be able to do the same thing and cover the cost for the annual cost, because now we're doing prorated because we're starting mid-year. The cost next year would again hopefully be covered completely by competitive grants that we write.
And is this going to replace something that you're doing at the high school, or is it going to be an additional?
It's going to be an additional service. So our therapeutic learning center at the high school, which currently has 2 classrooms, 2 teachers, a behavior specialist, and paraprofessionals that work with the program, including BCBA support, counselor support, it's going to strengthen that program. And the purpose of strengthening that program is to give more opportunities for social emotional support for those students, better access to mental health services for them and their families as well. They do wraparound supports in the community, and also to start to integrate academics in a more positive light into that program so that we can increase attendance, increase our grades, increase our graduation rate within that program, and hopefully be able to eventually, the plan would be, our plan, we've been planning this for several years to try to get this, would be to be able to bring students that are in out-of-district placements back into this program once we have that successful model set up and our students are being successful and able to transition into less restrictive, in the less restrictive environment of the general high school. And as we create that space from those successes, the hope would be to bring some of our students back into that space so that we can continue that forward motion.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff?
The 45 out-of-district students, are they separate and distinct from the 659?
Yeah. No, they're included in the 659.
They're included?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. By the way, it's 5%, not 0.05%. It's, you know, one 10 out of 2,000 is about 5%, okay? I understand how that mistake can easily be made, so don't worry about it, but.
Math is not
But he
my
still had to
strong
tell you.
Yeah. What I do for my math is run over to the business office and say, how do I do this?
It's a formatting issue more than anything else. Am I correct that circuit breaker kicks in at about 50,000? Is that a?
So the threshold changes every year.
I know it does.
It's been about 48-ish, 47, 48-ish.
It was 47 last
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
47,594.
Not to be exact or anything.
Thank you, Kathleen. And that, so I was in an ASD program classroom for about an hour today, and it was really interesting. But at one point, I counted 6 adults for 7 kids. Now, I know the IEPs are not written for one-to-one for a variety of reasons, but these people were working hard for those 7 kids, right? How do you track the cost so that you know when you hit that 47,000, whatever that number was? Because it doesn't, that 47,000 isn't just for out of district, I assume, correct?
Right. It's for any student in district as well.
So how many, and you've got 40 more kids, right? Now, I'm not criticizing anybody, but at 32%, adding 40, you know, it almost seems like it's out of control. Not that you're out of control,
Right,
but
no.
the numbers that are coming into this district are out of control. And I can't count the number of times this committee has been told, you know, the numbers are going down. They're not. They're going the opposite direction. So what percentage of that 659, minus the 45, are actually costing the district more than $47,000?
I would say probably 40 of them, so 40 students are probably close to threshold because of nursing.
Understood.
Yeah, one-to-one. We do have one-to-ones
Yeah,
in extreme
as necessary,
situations.
right?
Yeah. Equipment,
It's not an insignificant number.
no,
Wow.
yeah.
It's just,
It still greatly outweighs what we would pay if we sent those students to other schools.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm also not suggesting that we weren't doing a good job for those kids, okay? I had enough, knowledge to be dangerous about what they were trying to accomplish, but it was obvious there was a method to what was going on within the classroom. But it was intensive. It was also physical, meaning it almost made me tired watching these people doing it. And, hugging, touching, there was just a lot of appropriate contact because the kids needed and wanted it.
Yes.
But that 32% plus 40 more is just, from a budgetary perspective, it's frightening.
And that's why we're always looking for grant opportunities.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just, I have two last quick questions. Have you, or can you look at the DART group, our cohort group, to compare the percentages of their special ed students to ours? So basically like communities? That's something we could do, maybe? Okay. And my last question is, you mentioned the tiered focus monitoring report and corrective actions. Were there any there that kept you up at night, or that you were really worried about, or were they mostly minor corrections?
So the TFM for ELL was a completely different, so from special education, if those of you that were here on the committee when we did the special education report out of that TFM for special education, we were completely, we weren't cited on one thing.
Okay.
So that one was fine. So, and we work very hard, as does all of our staff, our support staff, every single one of us, to make sure that we are in compliance with as much as we can be, as many times as we possibly can, barring things that are out of our control. ELL was handed to us later, so we had to kind of learn about ELL. That corrective action plan was daunting, but we learned and we received support, and we hired consultants from Matsall, and really leaned on the Office of Language Acquisition a lot. They were wonderful helping us through it, and we were able to create a corrective action plan and have all of our progress notes approved. So
you feel like we're in better shape now?
we're in perfect shape now.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect shape now, but it was a long 2 years to get there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Joan.
All right, next up, we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. So in my report, in my newsletter, you'll see the bill and payroll warrants that I ask you vote to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 500.
Okay. Part of my report is my mid-cycle review. Believe it or not, we are halfway through the school year, over halfway.
Dr. DeAndre, do you want to do gifts first, or?
Oh, are there gifts?
Oh, they're not this time around? Okay.
The second page has a bunch of them.
Oh, you know what it was? I'm so sorry.
Last time?
Those were attached to my last one.
Okay.
I'm so
No, that's
Those
okay.
are all old.
Those are older gifts, okay. I thought we were getting double the money, okay. No problem. All right, so, sorry, Dr.
Sorry
DeAndrea.
about that. No gifts,
wow.
no gifts. Okay, so yeah, we're halfway through the school year, 98th day of school today, as Dr. Chandler was saying. It's going to be the 100th day on Monday. They'll be parading over at the elementary school. But it is time for my mid-cycle review. So the handout I gave you, each page has one of my goals on it. And what I did is I just bulleted some of the things that I've been doing toward that goal for this year. I also have met earlier this week with the evaluation subcommittee. They were able to dive into this a little bit more detail. We actually spent 2 hours, and and that's something that certainly all of the reports and documents will be submitted with the final part of the evaluation process. So the first page is a student learning goal, which is a 2-year goal, and so this is year 1. And this goal is to develop the school district analysis to identify areas of strength and weakness in curriculum and instruction, foster relationship with stakeholders, and transition into the role of superintendent of Wareham Public Schools. I have, as part of this goal, I've met with many people, and I continue to meet with folks from the community, select board members, FinCom members, school committee, staff. I have done some surveys. I put out a climate survey to parents that I had a really good response to that. And I'm putting all of this information into a report that I'm going to provide to the committee in April. Through the interviews that I've had with stakeholders, I definitely have some reoccurring themes that I'm hearing that people would like the district to improve on, or things in which they would want the new superintendent to make sure that he keeps here in the district. I'll have also included in that report information, data from MCAS, the climate surveys that I put out, and also some climate surveys that the state has administered to our students that I'll be able to provide for you. I'll also have attendance data, discipline rates, special ed data, ID rates, and Mr. Chairman, I heard you say to compare it to DART, and I think I'm going to put that in there. I think that's a good idea. So all this, I'm going to have all this information compiled for you. I'm trying to organize it in a real readable format. Not make it too lengthy, and it's all leading to an action plan in which I'll develop in order to go forward and make improvements.
So to be clear, because it's a 2-year goal, we can judge you on the benchmark of the material you gather now, and then the second year, we'd judge you on the actual action plan being implemented.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Next page. District Improvement Goal 1, which is to collaborate with building leaders and town, EMS, police, fire to create a comprehensive emergency plan for Wareham Public Schools. When we do come to April and we have time to report on this, I will be asking to do this in executive session. Because I really would like to go into detail with you of what we're putting together. But to give you kind of an overview of where we're at, we've had several meetings with police and fire and administrators. We've looked at what we have in place here in the district and how would be best to move forward to improve the security of our schools. We're looking at technology options that we can incorporate that will better organize and communicate between the schools, within the staff and schools and administration, and also out to the police and fire. And this goal is on track. I'm confident that we'll be able to complete it by the end of the school year. There's a number of things that still have to take place, but we're moving forward. And as I said, police and fire have been really great and really supportive, and they're very excited about this. Any questions on that?
Are we going to have an executive session prior to April too, kind of like for the mid-cycle version of this, or not?
I don't know when would be best to do that. But at some point, even if we were to do it next year, I think at some point, really showing you the details of it, I think you should know about it, and I think that you would appreciate it.
I'd like it sooner than later.
We'll shoot for April.
Maybe the meeting before the well, maybe the end of March.
I was gonna say, well,
Yeah,
it's one of the things.
we can do that.
Yeah, so-
Absolutely. And even if it's not completely all set up, we'll be significantly on the way. District improvement goal number 2. Together with the Communications and Community Relations Subcommittee, redesign the Wareham Public Schools District website into a user-friendly, interactive source of information for families and the community. I want to first say thank you, a big thank you to Bonnie and Robin in our office for the work that they've done to help us with that. And Joyce and April are also on the committee that are looking at how to improve our website. Bonnie helped us to develop a mock-up. We're working with a representative from a group called School Blocks. And we have a really nice-looking mock-up that has many features that I still need to learn, and I think our staff will need to learn, but we will provide training for that. I also want to develop a maintenance plan for the website to make sure that, once we have it up and it looks great, that we're continually updating it and making sure it has current information for staff and families. And the goal is to go live with the new website in March. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a real nice improvement.
Thank you.
District improvement goal 3, which is also a 2-year goal. We're in year 1. Determine core reasons for families deciding to school choice out of Wareham Public Schools and develop a plan for addressing these concerns. So I developed and administered a survey, and that survey went out to approximately 800, went out to 800 emails. Robin Westberg helped me identify families that have school choiced out, and I sent out the survey to these families. I received 112 responses, and I'm in the process now of organizing all of that data and evaluating it, trying to put it in a very readable format that could be included in my report. And I'm going to, those results I will share with you, but they will also be part of the district data report and the action plan that I'll put together as a part of that.
Have you been able to follow up any surveys with actual conversations, or will you look to that in the future?
I have, yeah. There was a couple of respondents that put phone numbers in and said, give me a call, and I called. And one was not really positive, and another one was very positive. Just wanted to say how wonderful her daughter's experience has been here in the Wareham Public Schools, so that was really good to hear. So, it's been mixed. There's been lots of positive feedback, and there's been some criticism that you gotta, listen to and consider. And then finally is my professional practice goal, to be visible throughout the district through school and classroom visits, engaging with staff, students, and meeting with building level administrators. I'm in each building at least once a week, but usually more like 2 or 3 times a week. And I also have weekly scheduled classroom visits with principals. We visit specific grades, specific subject areas. We talk about what we've seen. It's been really, really nice to do. It's been the highlight of my week, really. Get to see the kids, see the teachers teaching, what's going on in the classrooms, the curriculum, talk to the principals about how we want to go forward, how we can improve the experience for our students. And I'm going to continue that. I've documented that in my report. You'll have all the dates and times of the visits, some of the things we saw, and I'm going to continue with this through the remainder of the school year. And that's where we are.
So do you feel like all your goals are attainable?
I do,
Nothing needs any
yeah.
tweaking right now? You think you're comfortable with what they are?
I am comfortable with what they are, and I think that they're goals that are things that I would be doing anyway, and are goals that are beneficial to the district, and that makes them easy to accomplish, because it's not something that you're putting out, going out of your way to do. It's something that's part of your job.
Any questions from the committee? Joyce?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say that as part of that meeting that we had with the superintendent, we did come up with a timeline
Thank you.
for the evaluation. So I'll leave it up to you to share in an email with the members, but do you want me to just?
You
say
might well
this?
put the dates out there right now, too, but then I will forward this to everybody on the committee.
Okay. So the evaluation, we'll work backwards. The evaluation, we had already decided would be on April 27th at our regular meeting on April 27th. So our evaluations will be due to you, the chair, on April 14th. And the superintendent has agreed that he would deliver his self-assessment and evidence to us on by March 31st.
Okay.
2 weeks before our evaluation is due.
So I will definitely remind everyone multiple times about the 4/14 deadline for individual evaluations. And I'll give you all the proper formats and forms at that point as well. Well, thank you, Dr. DeAndrea,
Yes, thank you.
and good luck with the rest of the goals.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have school committee reports, the new policy public complaints file.
So, as I mentioned, I believe last meeting, when we discussed the library policy that we tabled because we didn't have, it referenced this policy, and we did not have this policy in our district. So this is a policy regarding sort of a chain of command for public complaints, and the protocols for that. And I didn't feel right voting for the other policy that reference until we had one in place. So hopefully you guys have all had a chance to take a look at it. I don't think I need to read it.
No.
Perfect. So this was taken from MASC and references any current Mass General law that is in it, and it's so this would just be a new policy that we would vote. That way this policy exists, so that when the policy review subcommittee meets again next week, we can move forward with the policy that references this policy that didn't exist prior to hopefully today.
Thank you. So would I move approval? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 500.
Thank you.
Thanks, April. All right, we have any other business? Does anyone have any other business? I will state that I will not be present at our next meeting on February 16th, so I want to make sure we have a quorum, which is 3. So, but everyone's attendance has been great this year. Mine will be missing. I'll be out of state. And I just want to let you know it is a shorter agenda, so you can thank me for that. And I want to, again, thank the negotiating committee for agreeing to meet right now to continue negotiations. I hope you have the energy, and I want to thank Kristen Flynn and Dr. DeAndrea as well for being present at that meeting also.
Looking forward to it, actually.
A motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is it at the conference room?
Good luck.
500. Meeting is adjourned.
That was my plan, yes.